Welcome, Wizard Apprentices. Today we're going to take a look at Visual Workflow. To get started, we're going to go and expand the Create menu in the Setup, under Workflow and Approvals, and Flows. Visual Workflow is different than normal workflow rules in the sense that it's going to contain a palette that you get to draw on. So let's take a look at what this looks like. We're going to click the New Flow button, and we'll be taken to the Flow Designer. It will pop up this nice little video if you want to go through the overview. I personally don't care for it, so I'm going to go and select Don't Show This Again and close this window. And let's take a look at this. First, we have a series of buttons along the top. Most of these are self-explanatory. We have the Save and Save As button, Run and Close. This is the Undo and Redo button, which is very helpful when you are building out a flow. We also have a Copy and Paste button, which is really great when you're putting multiple elements together. And then a Properties button. Down below, we have a little side panel with 3 different tabs. We have the Palette, Resources, and Explorer. The Palette gives you all the various items that you can put on our canvas, which is this big white area off to the right. Think of the palette as essentially our paints. So we are going to be painting our flow on our canvas. We have a number of different colors of paints. We have a draft 2, which is simply called Step. A step doesn't really actually do anything in flow. It's kind of like a bookmark. It helps you to kind of visualize what your flow is going to do, but you're going to eventually replace the step with actual elements from elsewhere in the palette. We have a screen. A screen provides a user interface. This is where you'll be able to present a form for a user to fill in or output text for the user to read. We then have a series of logic elements. We have a decisions trees for people who are used to programming. This is the equivalent to writing an if statement. If you're not familiar with an if statement, it essentially lets us go through and say, if it meets a certain set of criteria, go along and do this element. If it meets a different set of criteria, do a different element, and so forth. An assignment allows us to assign values to either a field or to a variable, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. We have loops. A loop allows us to loop through a series of records or some other collection, and we'll talk about collections later. And then we have the new wait element. The wait element is similar to building basically a time-based workflow. It tells the flow to wait a certain period of time before moving forward with other elements or the rest of the flow. We also have 2 sets of data elements. With Visual Workflow, you're able to create, update, lookup, and delete records. You'll notice there's a record version and a fast version for each create, update, lookup, and delete element. The difference between the two is the record versions assume you're dealing with a single record at a time. So if you're doing a record create, you can only create a single record. If you're doing a fast create, you could create a single record or you could create multiple records. The same goes for the update, lookups, and deletes. Essentially, you're assuming that you are looking up, updating, or deleting multiple records, where the record version, you're only doing a single record. Below that, we have quick actions. Some of these are also known as chatter publisher actions. These can be called just like anywhere else within a flow. It's a simple action that you can have. You can even call actions that you create yourself. Below that, we have static actions. These are the actions I tend to use most frequently. They allow me to do things like post a chatter, send an email, or submit for approval. We can take anything on the palette and put it upon our canvas. So for example, I can click and drag a step element and drop it on our canvas, give it a quick name. And you can see it on our canvas. Resources is the middle tab of our sidebar. It is a shortcut way to be able to create items that you use within your flow but do not show up within our canvas. These are variables, formulas. What is a variable? A variable is essentially a bucket that can hold any sorted number of things, numbers, it could be strings, or even Salesforce records. First, regular variables can typically hold strings, numbers, and dates. Other variables called S-object variables are meant to hold records or multiple records if it's a collection. Then we have constants, which are values that don't change. Finally, formula and text templates, which can be used to merge multiple items together, and choices, which is what we use to create our pick list. The last tab is the Explorer. The Explorer is useful for grabbing things that you created. This could be things that are on our palette, like our demo set that we see here. It could also be for getting access to any variables, text templates, or constants that we happen to create through the Resource tab. The nice thing about the Explorer is, like the palette, it has this quick find at the top, so you can quickly search through all the various items that you have used or created in order to be able to find them and then make edits if you need to. So that's the basic setup of Flow. Essentially, all you need to do when you create Flow is pick from the palette and drag onto your canvas, set up each element, and then define any variables, processes it, and you're done. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. Thanks for watching, Wizard Apprentices. Remember, the magic is out there. It is yours for the taking.